Hello, hello. This is Jessica of Vidable, and welcome to Dancing with Life, a podcast for joy. I am joined by my friend Casey Hammond. Hi, Casey.
Hi, Jessica. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I have known Casey for probably a dozen years now, and how we met was through Nia. And we dance together every summer. We dance on the beach for as long as we can because we love being outside, don't we, Casey?
We love it. And if anyone hasn't danced on the beach with you, they need to come to Cape Cod and do it because it is one of the highlights of my week.
One of the highlights. Oh, I love it. Okay, great. And it is totally a highlight of me. And Casey always brings friends. She brings new people. When she finds something she likes, she's totally into it. And so I have Casey to thank for introducing me to tapping. And so Casey, by training, is a registered nurse. And now she spends all of her time in the natural medicine. She does homeopathy and she does the emotional freedom technique. Casey, how did you get going into this major switch from west to east?
I actually learned nursing as an adjunct to this alternative stuff. So, but really what got me going, Jessica, when I was a teenager, my mother was diagnosed with cancer. And I have to say, due to conditioning, the baldness and the nausea didn't really trigger me. She was uncomfortable. That was the norm. I can't believe I let that slide by. But what really got me was when she was bedridden because she went temporarily blind from the chemotherapy.
Wow.
And, the teenagers always inquiring. And I just said, no, there's got to be a better way. So that was the spark for me. And then a decade later, when I had my son and he had the reoccurring ear infections, I just thought, again, you want to put him on antibiotic again? You're talking about surgery. And again, it was that same light bulb moment. There's got to be a better way. So I took him to a chiropractor like your husband and a homeopath. And there was a better way. He never got ear infections again. So that started my path, learning homeopathy. I'm a lifelong learner. I've taken body talk. I'm a Reiki practitioner, but one of my favorites, the homeopathy, yes, and the tapping or the EFT, emotional freedom techniques. Just love that. And it was a curiosity to learn something new and different.
Okay. So I got that. So your mom going through chemo and all the side effects that you saw of that, you were questioning there's got to be a better way. I mean, I'm also a fairly crunchy person, and I know we've had a lot of talks about, what's the best treatment for the body. And there's always a better way. I always look to, my chiropractor, my homeopathy, my naturopath, my homeopath. Everybody has contributed to kind of my best case scenarios, as a parent, as like, what's the ideal for my kids? And I have always asked those tough questions. So awesome. So how do you describe what you do, specifically with the tapping?
The tapping, it looks weird, but it works great. We're tapping on acupressure points. So they're clinically proven points that are more energetically active than just tapping anywhere on the body. They're the same points, Jessica, that an acupuncturist would use to stick a needle in. But tapping, people can learn to do it on their own. Like you said, you've been doing it on your own. Things come up in life. We know when we get dirty, we take a shower. When something upsets us, we can tap. So if people come for a few sessions, typically they're on their own. Not that they don't come back for the deep stuff, but they can do, day-to-day routines. I had a guy who went on vacation. He was afraid to go in the water. He went up to his motel room. He did some tapping for a few minutes. He came down and dove in the water. It's just something you can just use as you need it. You have an upset at work, you're in conflict with someone, you can just tap, get some relief, and move forward.
Wow. So that sounds amazing. So what I just heard newly was it's the same points as acupuncture, but you don't have the needles. Like I don't carry acupuncture needles with me. I haven't seen my acupuncturist in a couple of years.
Right.
So is there can we go through the points? And for
I would love to go through the points.
We could go through the points and maybe say a few things to see how we might switch from a negative place to a good place.
Great, because I know, Jessica, you're always talking about joy and how do we achieve joy, and that's so important. But if we clear out the negative, then there's more room for the joy to come in and really land and hold. And that's the important part, because all our emotions are important. Anger can get us motivated, all emotions are valid, but stay stuck in those emotions that bring us down and not be in joy or not be in gratitude. That's not a good place.
Well, people have said to me, like, what, joy coach? Are you just a Pollyanna, because that's just like putting lipstick on a pig. Like, oh, something really bad happened. Well, that's fine. Don't worry about it. That would be putting lipstick on a pig, right? Or icing on a mud pie. But you're talking about actually using the body and going from the negative to a more positive place.
Exactly.
All right, show me. Exactly. Let's do it. I know the points.
Before we start, I'll even say tapping is clinically proven to help people with PTSD, helping veterans in an average of 6 hours get over PTSD, panic attacks, phobias. I use it to help people with weight loss. That's a fun story. Athletic performance, anxiety. So lots of studies now, and it's out there. And this crazy looking thing that everyone's about to do with us is helpful in so many ways. It relaxes the nervous system. It brings down stress. I've tapped with hundreds of people, hundreds and hundreds. And typically what they say is, I feel so relaxed. I feel so calm. The person I was on with before this call, I feel so relieved, so this is what we're looking for. So you would think of something, if people want to think of something that's bothersome to them, don't think of a big one, but a little one. And let's start. We start at the top of the head. That's a tapping point.
So like say, like, I'm feeling overwhelmed. It's back to school.
Okay.
Too much. Perfect. Too much.
Okay, let's do the whole thing. We'll give them the whole thing, Jessica.
All right.
So we would say something like, even though I'm feeling overwhelmed.
Even though I'm feeling overwhelmed.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
Even though I'm feeling overwhelmed.
Even though I'm feeling overwhelmed.
I'm acknowledging that's what's true for me right now.
I'm acknowledging that that's what's true for me right now.
Even though I'm feeling so overwhelmed.
Even though I'm feeling so overwhelmed.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
I'm feeling so overwhelmed.
I'm feeling so overwhelmed.
Next spot people get wrong, right where your eyebrows begin, right there. Yep. So overwhelmed.
So overwhelmed.
And people might notice something if they feel overwhelmed. They might notice the physical sensation. And they can focus that, maybe butterflies in the stomach, or maybe a tension in the throat. So I'm feeling so overwhelmed.
Feeling so overwhelmed.
The next spot is the very top of the cheekbone. So overwhelmed.
So overwhelmed.
I'm feeling so overwhelmed.
I'm feeling so overwhelmed. Is
Yeah,
there an increased benefit?
Halfway between the lip and the nose. And again, the next spot is the crease of the chin. We call it the chin point, but it's in the crease.
Is there an advantage, one finger, two finger?
I usually use more than one finger in case I'm off on my spot a little bit. I know I'm going to get it.
Oh, double coverage.
So sometimes I use 3. This next spot is on the collarbone. Yep. And it's sometimes a spot people can just use this one spot, like you're driving in your car and someone cuts you off in traffic. You still want to focus on the road, but you can just, woo, that was close.
There's less traffic on Cape Cod, but I'm still feeling overwhelmed.
Yes, so overwhelmed.
I need a driver.
Yeah, and with tapping, we can use one hand, either hand, or both hands.
Okay.
Works. The next spot is just on the sternum. So overwhelmed. And some people use a fifth.
So overwhelmed.
So overwhelmed. And the last spot I'm going to teach you is hands width under your armpit, right on the seam of your shirt, right there. Again, I use several fingers. I'm going to be sure I get it. Okay. And some people do it like this, which is fine too. However, it works for you. And again, one side.
I learned that as a bear hug spot. What do you call it?
Bear hug. Okay, so you've been taught to do it like this. I call it the monkey spot because I do it like this.
I have a kid's book.
And then quite often I just ask people to come back to this all important collarbone spot. Again, this spot sometimes on its own can help people. And then take a nice deep breath. often before we start, we take a measurement. If you did feel overwhelmed before this call, what did it do? Did it go up a little? Maybe you're thinking about it even more. Did it come down? We're looking for it. If it went up a little, keep tapping, do it again, and just have it, just watch it come down. You watch your relaxation response click in. We get out of fight or flight so we can think about things. Tapping helps with clarity. It just helps with goal setting and planning and so many things. Okay. The catch line around of the emotional freedom techniques is try it on everything. Okay. And I've even had people, they've come to me for homeopathy with sinus infections. And I said, well, let's try that tapping. And I'm kind of want to roll my eyes thinking it's not going to work. How could it possibly work? And when they express their emotions around being ill, the few times I've done sinus infections, there's usually anger there. If we think about inflammation physically, there's probably inflammation emotionally, some anger. And so we tap away the anger, and they have left my office in like an hour and a half, and their symptoms are gone. So, it just works with pain. Again, if we can have people bring in the emotional components around their illness, and even if they can't, we can work with physical sensations. We often will, someone who has back pain, it might shift around as we're tapping to different places before we're able to disperse it.
So would you agree with this statement that by tapping those points, you're moving chi?
I would say that's true. Yes.
Yeah. And so the pain is like stuck chi. Would you agree?
Stuck chi. That's it exactly. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Excellent. So you can find, so going from overwhelm, and then would we start tapping things, the more joyful statements?
Yeah, something like I'm open to the possibility of, having more joy in my life, of creating joy, and we can just reinforce that. But I find it doesn't hold that well if the issue isn't cleared, or at least mostly cleared. It's like sweeping dirt under a rug. You're going to have that bump. You got to get the dirt out from under the rug, and then it lies flat. And then we can feel the joy that we all want.
Got it. It is not easy to go from overwhelm to joy without cleaning up the dirt,
Yes.
and acknowledging. I mean, acknowledging it is a huge thing to begin with, and then, do you need help? Where, but that, is something we work with in joy coaching, is looking at the areas of life and where is there not flow? Where are things stuck, or where is the dirt pile that, let's work on this area and clean that up really well so that we can bring flow to the rest.
Yes. Beautiful.
Of life.
Love that.
So do you have clients that do homeopathy and tapping?
I do. That's really fun. Sometimes when I'm doing it homeopathic, or even when I'm tapping with someone, I'm like, oh, this would be a perfect homeopathic remedy for them. It just comes to me. And other times, especially in someone who's in a really upset place, the remedies often take a little while, if it's, especially if it's a long-term problem. They take a while to unwind someone. So I love to use homeopathy. Yeah, as a matter of fact, today I had someone where we'll be using the combination. We did some tapping today. We'll be doing some homeopathy.
Well, it's worth mentioning that happened with my daughter, my daughter who has autism. And, I thought that tapping would be good because she was worried. She was anxious about going back to school. And I wanted Casey to take her from overwhelm and worry to like, I'm open, I'm open. I just wanted her to be open. And by the way, she loves school, by the way. Okay. She loves school. So, we were talking, and, as she was Casey was tapping with her, she was like, this is not for me. I don't like this. And we did homeopathy with her, and it clearly helped. And so, it hadn't occurred to me how well those link together. Giving that, the kind of, it's not a chemical support, but what do you, tell me,
it's like a spark. It's really a spark. And if you get the right remedy and you spark the positive change, it slowly like unwinds someone to be in a better place. Yeah. Sparks the immune system to do the job it can do. It just needs a little help, a little tweak. Yeah.
You really could have done, a whole talk on both of these things together.
Yes.
Is there a
But
typical?
when I tap with people, they open up really quickly. And that is often the clue to me getting the right homeopathic remedy versus just the conversation that is a typical homeopathic interview. Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, I love the intertwining of the two.
Tap to open, and then that the right remedy. Because I know that having done homeopathy so much that they want to know the deep. It's not just my knee hurts. It's, well, what's going on with your marriage? What's going on with your kids? What's going on with your money? Like all of those spiritual, emotional, metaphysical things add to the picture for you.
Right.
So you really are like Dumbledore in, Harry Potter with the pensieve, right? There's all this various information going in, and then you're like, oh, but I can see clearly now.
Yes, but aren't you as a joy coach? You take people through the wheel of life. You look at all the aspects. Where are the shortcomings? Where are they challenged? Where are they thriving? Yeah, it's all looking at the whole person makes a big difference. Yeah.
And how like a little, like tweaking a little thing can make such a huge difference too,
Yep.
One little piece can unwind the whole knot.
Right. It's about starting the momentum in the right direction, and then it can build on itself. Yeah.
So how do people find you? Do you do lectures, or, is it a referral based mostly?
Yeah. Thank goodness for my referral base, but I used to do lectures, even free talks, and I'm still willing to do them on Zoom, but it kind of stopped with COVID. I did one in that March 2020, and it was a smaller crowd. People backed out, but I do free talks on all kinds of things, from clearing your clutter to some of the wealth stuff that you love to work with, Jessica. Conquer a Craving is my most popular talk. That's how I got caught up in EFT, because I was learning about it, but I wasn't doing it. And my friend called me one day. She was learning it with me, and I could hear laughter in her voice on the other end of the phone. I'm like, what's up? And she goes, you won't believe what just happened. And I said, what? She said, well, I have this jar of fudge in my kitchen. And at that point, there was 7 people living in her house. But she said, I was the only one eating it. I couldn't walk by it without dipping my spoon in and having a spoonful. So I said, well, Casey and I are learning this tapping thing. I might as well try tapping. So she has a spoonful of fudge. Imagine that. And she started tapping, and she didn't want it. She rinsed off the spoon and put it in the dishwasher. So I said, I have to try that, because I'm going to say because it was an ice cream addict. I had a double scoop of ice cream almost every day of my life.
Wow.
Think about all those calories, right? I weighed a lot more then. So I started tapping on my ice cream, and I tapped on the craving, and that helped a little bit. But when I dug under, I always tell people, we got to get the iceberg, the part that's under the water. I'm one of 10 kids. At our dinner table, my mother would cut the box of ice cream in half and say, half for tonight, half for tomorrow. I got like 6 bites maybe. I never got enough. So I had to tap on, I never got enough. I had to tap on the underlying drivers. And once I did, I had ice cream once this summer. That's a lot different than having it almost every day of the year. It's not a thing for me anymore. It's in the back seat. It's ice cream. It's not this super comfort food, solve all my problems, So I said, wow, there's something here. If it could get me off ice cream, there's something here. And I just kept doing it more and more and more. And sure enough, there's something here.
That's fantastic. Have you helped anybody with smoking cessation?
Not smoking. I would love to, and tapping has.
Yeah.
It's funny because people come to me with smoking, and then we kind of go off on like the real issues. Not that smoking isn't, but they realize there's other priorities they need to work on. So so I can't say I've helped anyone quit smoking, although I would love that opportunity, and EFT has proven to do it. And I know the system, I just haven't had the opportunity. Yeah.
Cool. So how can we find out more about you? And we can put all these in the show notes too.
Okay. Well, my website is called Cape, like for Cape Cod where we live, Jessica, we're so lucky. Cape EFT Associates, and that's EFT stands for the Emotional Freedom Techniques. So it's Cape EFT Associates. Yep, yeah, that's how people get a hold of me.
Awesome, awesome. And maybe someday soon we'll be resuming networking meetings and info meetings. But for now, we're zooming it up and sending our videos all around. Thank you for being, willing to listen to people's stories and to help them transfer and create a new future.
No, I love people's stories, and I love when I see them take a twist somewhere. And they're so fascinating. And I generally think that most of us are doing the best we can. And yeah, so I definitely have compassion for people who are struggling. And yeah, I do love helping people that are having a tough time.
Well, thank you so much for all the joy you bring. And I look forward to talking to you again.
Thank you. Nice to see you, Jessica, like always.